Alrighty, so I know I've posted many videos with me stating that I actually fixed all the problems with the Mustang, but I think in today's video we're actually going to cover what was the actual issue and also how you guys can avoid running into the same issue. So I'm just going to say it so it's not like a clickbait thing or something where I'm dragging out the video. We all know that engines need spark, fuel, and air to run, right? I had all of those things and now a plane wants to fly above while I'm recording my video. Son of a bitch. Alright, so like I was saying, the issue we had is we had fuel pressure, we had fuel, we had spark, we had air. Now that's the three things that you need for combustion, for fire, for making sure that your motor runs right. Now the one thing that I didn't check that you absolutely need is fuel flow. And the way that I determined that I wasn't getting adequate fuel flow was that I was saying, damn, can't be right. This car is breaking up bad. So I took my multimeter and I spliced it into the fuel pump wires and I recorded a video of the voltage just to make sure that the voltage wasn't dropping off as I was accelerating, causing the fuel pressure issue, and that wasn't the case. So I'm going to insert that video here so you can hear me running through the gears and recording the voltage. Alright, and after figuring out that it wasn't a voltage issue, I then proceeded to I taped my camera in an area where it could record the fuel pressure gauge so we can watch it. And I definitely have to give a big shout out to Richie who gave me the idea to test this. Richie's a very good mechanic, and he told me to clamp the return line on the fuel pressure regulator that goes to the tank and also to crank up the pressure in the fuel rail. So I turned the pressure all the way up and my pump was giving me about 80, somewhere around 70, 80 PSI. And even with that, when I went to go test it, it was still breaking up. But the results that we got were it would idle with the proper fuel pressures, idling at around 70 PSI. And then the minute you stomp on it, it evacuates all that fuel out of the fuel rail, because when the injectors pulse, the pump isn't keeping up with the injector. So you would watch when I first stomp on it, it hits hard low and then it flies back up. When I shift and then it hits hard low, that's because the pump couldn't keep up. But that entire day that I was testing, I could have sworn that it was a bad regulator or a bad pump, but I'm gonna show you guys a video now of us having it up at 70 to 80 PSI and then it dropping off. Alright, so now you see the issue, and what I had to do was I started troubleshooting everything. I deleted the fuel pressure regulator entirely, which means the return line that would have went to the tank, the return line from the fuel rail that goes to the pressure regulator, I just installed a gauge on it and I was getting the exact same results, and I couldn't figure out why. So I say, you know what, it has something to do with the pump now because we completely deleted the regulator. So I pulled the pump out thinking that the pump was bad, and to my surprise it was dirty fuel socks, because these Mustangs come with a canister that has a float on the outside of it. Not a float, it has a fuel sock to pull fuel into the canister, and then the pump itself has a fuel sock that pulls the fuel through the pump and sends it up to the motor. So I cleaned those out with some degreaser and popped those back in, because I was supposed to go and buy a pump is why I took it out, but the pump didn't match up. So I just said, you know what, let me pop this pump back in, clean up the fuel sucks, and park it and just wait. I was gonna order a Walbro 255 or possibly 300, but come to find out, to my surprise, when I went and drove it and I revved it, the fuel pressure wasn't dropping off anymore. So all this time, all these issues we've been having with this car was mostly because she wasn't getting enough fuel. So when you're doing any swap or when you're diagnosing, there's definitely a step to take. And spark, if your motor's not starting, check to make sure you're getting spark. Check to make sure you're getting injector pulse. And if it is running, make sure that even though you have that idle fuel pressure, that could be misleading, and you should check to make sure that under load it's giving you an accurate fuel pressure reading. So all this time that we were troubleshooting this car for about 2 to 3 months now, it was just because she wasn't maintaining the proper fuel pressure to run at wide open throttle. So I'm going to insert a video now of in the hood of the gauge set to the right about 40 psi, and every time I shift it still spikes up, but it comes right back down to 40 and delivers that fuel to the motor. You can even hear a difference, and you can tell that it's running a lot better. So alright, I know we don't have any footage of me actually in the car driving it, so let's change that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to install the GoPro on the windshield and we're going to take it for a drive, but I'm also going to time, I'm going to do a 1/4 mile time for the car just to see what it's doing. You know, it's a app on my phone that I use called Car Performance. And it's a pretty accurate app, but you know it can't be as accurate as actually being on a track and drag racing it. But let's get to testing this thing properly. So I had to pull on the side of the road. My throttle cable was off by a lot, making the car run funny. But we have the app going. Now we're gonna get onto the road, come to a complete stop, and then we're gonna gun it from a stop until we have completed the quarter-mile stretch, and then we'll see what results we get. There's a few tweaks that I can do to this to get some more power out of it. So if I'm not completely pleased with it, then I'll revert back to running it without the MAF, because I feel like it does run better without the MAF, because this ECU needs to tune for this computer. This ECU needs to tune for this motor, and we haven't done that as yet, so it's going to run funny with the MAF pulling in a certain amount of air. So we're going to pull onto the road now, do our first quarter-mile pull, and then I'll show you guys the results. Alright, so I know you guys won't be able to see this very good because I know the sun is behind us, but 60 foot is 3.8 seconds, which is garbage. Quarter mile time is 16.8, and a lot of that has to do with, you know, me having to get used to running this car. Also, I have extremely bald tires in the back. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull on track and try to run this quarter mile again. See what the times were. Alright, so we're still getting 16.7 in the quarter, and my first gear is completely useless because of these tires, but I feel like the car is running a lot better. But I'm gonna tweak a few things, and then we're gonna try this again and see how it goes. And actually I'm gonna tell you what it is that I'm gonna tweak, and I'm just going to unplug the MAF because, like I said, this is not tuned, so it runs better with the MAF unplugged. So we're going to try that and then do the quarter mile again. Alright, so I'm still getting 16.7 as a time, and I know for a fact that's because of these tires. These tires are absolute trash, so it's not going to get much better than that, which that's pretty close to the stock application when it comes to drag racing one of these vehicles. So she's getting 3.8 consistently to the 60 foot, 16.7 consistently in the quarter mile time. So I don't think it's going to get much better than that, but definitely I'm sure you guys can hear from the tone of this thing, it's running 10 times better than it was before. So I can live with that for damn sure. So I'm probably gonna run it again and see what we get for a time and call it a day and head home. so this thing is getting hot, right around 210, which is actually the normal operating temperature for them. So I'm gonna give it some time to cool down, but that should be the last run for the day. And a very consistent quarter mile time of 16.7, and that's with absolute shit tires. So definitely when I get some track performance tires, like tires that could actually bite the road and go, because these ones are extremely bald, my quarter mile time will increase greatly. But thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll catch you guys on the next one.